My name is Ankit. You're watching the Indian Express analysis by StudyIQ IS English channel, and in this analysis, we provide you daily at 10 a.m. the analysis of that day's important news and articles. Also, we make sure to provide you with relevant MCQs, mains answer writing questions, and pointers which you can utilize throughout your exam preparation, be it prelims, be it mains, or be it your interview. Now, good morning, Kalpana. Good to see you here, and I hope every one of you must have had a very good weekend, a productive weekend in which you must have revised your syllabus, you must have undertook some leisure time, which will help you go throughout this entire week. Now, today's discussion entails as many as 7 articles, which I've taken them from today's newspaper, today being 13th of January. And as you can see, there are some articles which are relevant from places in news, particularly this first article where President Trump has demanded for renaming of Gulf of Mexico. Also, Kerch Strait is in news because of a recent oil spill incident that happened, as Kerch Strait is very near to Russia and Ukraine region, which is a region has been in news for almost 2 years. Also, this article deals with Kumbh Mela, as it has been starting today, and it has a huge relevance as far as India's culture is concerned. So we'll try to understand what is this Kumbh Mela is all about, in addition to understanding ISRO's attempt at docking its spacecraft, which is undergoing currently, called as a Spedex mission. Now, what is the importance of docking two spacecraft? We'll also try to understand that in the scope of our today's discussion. Also, there are one topics each from environment, which says steps required for a hotter world and how India can be made more resilient and better prepared in line of increasing or rising global temperatures. Also, there is this small article from economy section, as there is a news that FPIs have withdrew a huge amount of money from Indian economies, and they have taken out that money and deposited them into other markets of the world. So what is actually a foreign portfolio investment? We'll try to understand this. So this discussion entails a lot of topic from GS paper 2, GS paper 1, GS paper 3, and also our last article relates to draft UGC rules and how these rules have had impact on India's federalism. We'll try to understand that also as well. Now, good morning BS, good morning Kalpana. How's the recovery from fever? I am better today, although not fully recovered, but I am still very much better than what I was yesterday. Now, before moving forward, you know, this Telegram channel right here is where you'll get the notes immediately after the class ends. Also, this Telegram channel can be utilized for you to undertake discussion from your peers and ask doubts from me, as I am replying to the doubts that have been asked by questions or the students. And the link for this Telegram channel is called ATS Live, which you can search in the search bar given over the Telegram app, or also you can scan this QR code, which will take you directly to the requisite Telegram channel. Understood? Now, before moving forward, let us start our today's discussion with solving yesterday's question that I had given you as a homework. With reference to H-1B visa, consider the following statements. It is a non-immigrant visa that allows US employers to employ foreign workers in specialty occupations requiring theoretical or technical expertise. This is a long statement, but it is a correct statement, as it is a visa for immigrants and it provides them the opportunity in case they are highly qualified to seek employment in companies located in US. Majority of H-1B visa holders in recent years have been from India. We have understood that more than 60% of visas issued under H-1B has been given to Indians, whereas 12 to 13% of these visas went to Chinese nationals. So second statement here is correct. This H-1B visa program has no annual cap on the number of visas issued. This is an incorrect statement, because I told you 65,000 visas are issued every year in addition to 20,000 for special consideration. So there is an annual cap which is about 85,000 visas issued every year. Therefore, third statement is correct. First and second are correct. We have to identify correct statement. So quite simply, option A is the right answer. Now, moving to the mains article, which we will cover before the end of today's discussion. It deals with the implications of draft UGC regulations of 2025. So we'll try to understand what are the changes made in this resolution or rules, and how does it impact India's federalism and institutional autonomy. So this is how we'll try to understand, because first we'll understand changes, then it will analyze these changes on how it impacts federalism and how it impacts institutional autonomy in India. Understood? And we have to make sure to write this question in just 150 words. So that will be a challenging aspect, because from my perspective, writing bigger answers is easy and it gives you the room to add your value to it. But when there are shorter questions which require you to put in just 150 words, enough to be written in 1.5 pages, you are required to be very precise. And this is where you have to use keywords to have the or secure maximum amount of marks. Understood? So we'll try to solve this question before our session. Now, starting from the first article, which appeared today in the Indian Express Explained section, which is on page 16, and this article is relevant because places in news throughout the year have been a subject of UPSC's curiosity, and therefore has been asked in prelims examination also. As we have seen, more than one questions every year have appeared, be it mapping based, be it geography based, and these have been taken from places which have been in news. And today, this article highlights that US President Donald Trump, he has advocated or he has demanded that the name Gulf of Mexico should be changed to Gulf of America. Now, Gulf of Mexico, if you can see from this map that I have provided you here, is a water body which connects with Caribbean Sea through Yucatan Channel, and it connects with Atlantic Ocean through Straits of Florida. Now, the bordering countries of this Gulf of Mexico includes United States, it includes Mexico here in the southwest, and the Cuba in the southeast part of the Gulf of Mexico. So these are three bordering countries of Gulf of Mexico. Now, what are the other important qualities of Gulf of Mexico? Let us try to understand that. First of all, I told you about bordering countries. There are three: US, Mexico and Cuba, and this Gulf of Mexico connects with Atlantic Ocean through Straits of Florida and with Caribbean Sea via Yucatan Channel. So try to remember these two important facts, and also the bordering countries. Now, this Gulf of Mexico remains in news mostly a greater part of the year because this area is vulnerable to natural disasters like hurricanes as well as twisters, because this water body provides a favorable conditions or favorable atmospheric conditions which can lead to developing an evolution of hurricanes in the region, and that is why this area has been quite prone. Now, you must be remembering a hurricane which destroyed a large part of United States back in 2000s. That is called Katrina hurricane. This also emerged in the very Gulf of Mexico. Now, the major rivers which drain themselves into Gulf of Mexico are Mississippi rivers and Rio Grande. So please remember that, because in 2024 prelims exam we saw a question appeared on Red Sea, but the question was not relating to map. Rather, it asked that what kind of rivers or do any rivers drain in Red Sea. So that is why you have to remember such rivers which are draining in important water bodies and places in news. Also, this Gulf of Mexico remains in news because it is a vast resource-rich region. Particularly, it has major deposits of petroleum and natural gas. Also, it is an important area for fishing, providing with fishes to the people of United States and Mexico. Now, there are many oil rigs in Gulf of Mexico, particularly that was a news called Deepwater Horizon, which caught fire. That is why it is a major source of petroleum and natural gas. And as to take out these deposits of petroleum and natural gas, we require large amount of offshore oil fields, one of which was Deepwater Horizon. Understood? So these are important facts related to Gulf of Mexico. Now, the naming of Gulf of Mexico, the question appeared towards International Hydrographic Organization, which is an organization that works to ensure that all water bodies across the globe, such as seas, ocean, navigable waters, they are surveyed and charted uniformly. And also this body is responsible for naming just some of the global water bodies. But when it comes to naming of global Mexico or Gulf of Mexico, there is absence of any international agreement or protocol which will allow for naming of maritime areas such as Gulf of Mexico. So that is why we have seen there are many instances where some kind of an area, particularly a water body, has been referred to by different names by different countries. That is why, because there is an absence of any formal international agreement, and that is why this confusion and oscillation or discussion happens over naming a particular water body. And this is why the demand for changing of name of Gulf of Mexico has also emerged. Now let us try to solve the first practice question that I have curated very similarly on the lines of a PYQ occurred in the year 2024, and this PYQ, as I already told you, was on Red Sea. Now Gulf of Mexico is bordered by multiple countries including United States, Mexico and Barbados. Now I told you US and Mexico has borders with Gulf of countries, and a third country is called Cuba and not Barbados, hence first statement here is incorrect. No water enters the Gulf of Mexico from rivers. I told you again this is incorrect because there are two rivers which are draining in Gulf of Mexico, that is Mississippi as well as another river called Rio Grande. So second statement also is incorrect, both of them incorrect, and we have to identify correct statement. Therefore option D, neither 1 or 2 is the right answer to this first practice question. Now let us move to another article. This one appeared on the very front page of the Indian Express newspaper, and it highlights that India's Space Research Organization or ISRO, it has made a trial attempt in order to bring the two components of Spedex mission, that is Chaser and Target satellites, closer to each other. Now they reach as many as 3 meters in their close vicinity. However, after this close vicinity was achieved, these satellites were moved apart to safer distances of 15 meters. Now the space agency or the ISRO's intention of bringing these two spacecrafts closer to each other was first of all to analyze the data which will help ISRO to successfully eventually carry out the docking process. Now first, before understanding the importance of docking process, let us try to revise what is this Spedex mission is all about. It is made up of two small spacecrafts called Chaser and Target, and they were launched into space by the Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, particularly its C-60 mission. Now these two spacecrafts were launched on board one rocket. However, they were independent spacecrafts and they were released into space at different intervals of time. Now this mission involves three stages. First is rendezvous, that their orbits and paths will be aligned first, and then the docking mission will take place. That is, these two aircrafts, although are independent, they will be attached in space. After the attachment and after the flow of power, these air spacecrafts will eventually be detached, and hence the undocking process will also take place. Now the objective of this mission first of all is twofold. Primary objective is to demonstrate in space docking and undocking of two spacecrafts, and also when the docking will happen, it will also transfer electric power from one spacecraft to another, highlighting the second objective. So these are the two objectives, and the spacecraft, you have to understand, this were launched by Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, and it is two spacecrafts that were launched independently but on one rocket, and they were released into space at different intervals of time, after which their orbits were aligned through rendezvous, and then after they have been aligned, the docking and undocking process will take place. Now, why this Spedex mission is undertaking the docking process? Now it is a process where two fast moving spacecrafts, they are brought first into same orbit, then manually or autonomously they are brought closer to each other, finally enabling them to get attached with each other. Now this capability of docking two spacecrafts in space is an important capability for any space organization, particularly ISRO, as it is wanting to carry out many future missions, particularly such as Bharatiya Antariksh Station, that is India's own space station, as well as Chandrayaan 4, and it is necessary For the reason why, because many future missions will entail heavier payloads, such payloads which will be more than what you can send on a single space mission. So you'll be requiring to send different components of a particular space mission on different rockets, and then when these components reach into space, you will then attach them, thereby simplifying the process of constructing whether Chandrayaan payloads or construction of space station in the outer space. Now, space station, it is assumed it will have 5 different modules. So, you need the capability to attach these modules into space, and so will be Chandrayaan 4, which will carry as much as 4 modules into space, and different modules will be sent into space at different times. First of all, there will be a module which will take the samples from moon and it will bring it back to earth in 2 processes. First, after taking off from moon with moon samples, this Chandrayaan mission, it will get attached to a module which will transport it from the atmosphere of moon till the low earth atmosphere. And when this spacecraft of Chandrayaan 4 carrying lunar samples, it reaches the outer earth orbit, it will attach to a re-entry module which will then allow it to re-enter the earth's surface. So this is how docking process will be taking place, and you have to understand such is an important capability for any space organization, so as it can send higher payloads into outer space and thereby eliminating the chance of heavier payloads and increased costs. Understood? Now let us try to solve the practice question. Consider the following statements regarding Spedex, which is a space docking experiment mission. The primary objective of Spedex is to demonstrate electric power transfer between the docked spacecraft. I told you this is not the primary, but it is the secondary objective. Primary objective is to undertake the docking process itself. So first statement here is incorrect. Now, chaser and target aircraft, they were launched using LVM-3 launch vehicle. Again incorrect. I told you it was launched on board the Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, particularly its C-60 mission. The third statement, Spedex, it is a critical step for success of India's Chandrayaan 4 project. It is a correct statement. Why? Because I told you, in addition to Bharatiya Space Station, or India's version of space station, Chandrayaan 4 will also utilize multiple components which will be sent into space at different times, and then they will be combined as per the need and opportunity using the docking process. So third statement is correct. We have to identify correct statement here. Option C is the right answer, because as I told you, only third statement is right. Now moving to another article. This one is an important article because such kind of an article you expect will appear in the news only once every 12 years. And as the average aspirant can only attempt 6 attempts, so it is quite possible that when next Kumbh Mela will happen, most of you will not be able to attempt the exams. So make sure to revise this article as it is quite rich with details, and such articles are also important from GS paper 1 perspective, because India's art and culture is mentioned in GS paper 1 syllabus, and you can expect such questions in this year mains also, in addition to such concepts being asked in the prelims examination. Now the page on which this article appeared is page 16, so please make sure to highlight this important point. Now this article has been in news because city of Prayagraj, located in Uttar Pradesh's eastern part, it is hosting Mahakumbh Mela, which is held once every 12 years. Now, there are many myths and ideas which are prevalent on the origin of Kumbh. Some say it originated in many religious scriptures such as Skand Puran or Rigved. However, there are other section of people who say it is somewhat of recent origin, only as old as 2 centuries old. So, we'll try to discuss all the theories pertaining to origin, what is its religious significance, and what actually people do in such Kumbh Melas. Now, what is definitely known about Kumbh is that it is one of world's largest gathering of devotees anywhere on earth. So, that is why such events are not just important from our exams perspective, but also are an important news event for the globe. That is why let us try to understand first of all the origin of the word Kumbh. Now, This Kumbh Mela derives its name from a Sanskrit word called Kumbh, which means a pitcher or the pot. And the legend is so that when gods and demigods or demons, they were fighting over a pitcher of Amrit, which is an elixir of immortality. Now, whenever they were fighting on the ocean to discover elixir or Amrit, it led to churning of Amrit. Now, this pot of Amrit, which is called a Kumbh, it was protected from the Asurs so that they do not get away with the elixir. Rather, it was Indra's son called Jayant who ran off with this pot, and along with him went the son of Jayant called Shani, Jupiter, as well as the moon. Now, as Jayant ran, it is held that the Amrit pot, it spilled its Amrit in 4 spots on the earth, that was Prayagraj, Haridwar, Ujjain, as well as Nashik, Trimbakeshwar, and these are the 4 locations where Kumbh Melas happen at a definite year. Now, as the Jayant, he ran with the pot of elixir for a sum total of 12 days, and you understand 1 day of Deva constitutes 1 year for us humans. Hence, the Kumbh Mela happens once every 2 years, and where it will happen depends on its relative position of the sun, of moon, as well as Jupiter. Now, Prayagraj and Haridwar, they also hold Ardh Kumbh, which is a Kumbh that happens once every 6 years, and also the festival is also held at a gap of 12 years, and this is called Purn or Mahakumbh. Now, Purn in Hindi means complete, that is set of 12 years, whereas Ardh means half, which is 6 years. So, this is how the terms are used. Now, especially the people who are not comfortable in Hindi, you have to remember such terms, as such terms is quite possible that can be asked in exams. Now, good morning Narsimha, good morning FTY, good morning BS, good morning Bhaskar. Yes, Bhaskar, in some sources it is credited to Adi Shankara. You are quite right. I was coming to that. Now, as I told you, all these 4 places where Kumbhs are held, that is Prayagraj, Haridwar, Ujjain, as well as Nashik, they are located on the banks of important rivers. For example, Haridwar is located on the banks of Ganga. Prayagraj is called as a Sangam, which is a congregation or meeting point of 3 important rivers, Ganga, Yamuna, and the Saraswati river. Whereas Ujjain is located on the banks of Shipra, whereas Nashik, Trimbakeshwar is located on a river called as Southern Ganga called Godavari. Now, it is believed that during this Kumbh Mela, taking a dip in the holy water of these rivers will attain you salvation, and it will also help you wash away the sins that you have committed in this time. Also, it will help you attain punya. Punya means in English a spiritual merit. So, non-Hindi speakers, I am emphasizing again and again, please make sure to remember these kind of words, as although you may not understand the meaning of it, but such meaning can be asked in one form or the other in the prelims examination. Now, also the venue of Kumbh also holds a congregation points of many holy men called sadhus, as they gather in their congregation in what is called as a sadhu akhada. Akhada means a group. Now, this is where regular people, they can interact and seek knowledge from these sadhus, and hence this kind of a setup holds not just religious but also a social significance. Now, as I told you, the location where the Kumbh Mela will happen at a particular year is determined by the alignment of Sun, Moon and Jupiter. For example, when Jupiter is located in Taurus, whereas Sun and Moon are located in Capricorn, this will be the year where Kumbh will be held in Prayagraj, and there are other instances where such melas can be held in Haridwar or Nashik and Trimbakeshwar. So, you can remember it after I upload the notes. What is important from this year's perspective is when Jupiter is located in Taurus and Sun and Moon are located in Capricorn, this will be called as Kumbh Mela when it will be held in city of Prayagraj. Now, let us understand what are the history and sources from which we can trace the origin of Kumbh. First of all, it is mentioned in 2 important religious scriptures such as Skand Puran as well as Rig Vedra. As Skand Puran, first of all, widely cited the origin of Kumbh Mela, whereas in Rig Vedas, shlokas are there which mention benefits of participating in the Kumbh Mela. Now, other scholars, they also highlight that Chinese pilgrim Huansang, which visited India in 7th century, he also in his account of travel demonstrated that a fair happened in Prayagraj. Also, some can be attributed to 8th century Hindu philosophers Adi Shankaracharya, who has established these four fairs, and he mentioned that in this fairs Hindu aesthetics and scholars could meet, discuss and disseminate the ideas to the wider audiences. So I told you, it not just has a religious significance, but it also encourages meeting of people, and therefore they are important for social reasons as well. Now, what actually pilgrims do in the Kumbh Mela? First of all, I told you ritual dip in the river water happens, as people believe that it will help them wash away with the sins and help them achieve punya, which is a good deed. Now, also a set of people called Kalpvasi, they stay at the river bank, and their intention to stay in the river bank is to break away from their normal routine and rather earn spiritual credit. Also, sadhu akhadas, which are congregation of holy men, they are set up and they participate in mass and go for Shahi Snan, which is a ritualistic bathing that group of people take together. Now, today is the day when the Shahi Snans will happen, and there are fights between various groups and when and which one will participate first in the process of Shahi Snan. And also, during such melas, back when India was seeking its freedom from British fighters, such mela provided with the opportune moment to spread the nationalist thoughts between the groups of people, because you understand communication as it is quite easy in today's time, but it was not so back when India was under colonial rule, and people needed some kind of an excuse to get together, and that enabled them to spread their nationalist thoughts and ideas, which ultimately led to rise of Indian national movement, and Kumbh Melas provided an adequate opportunity for that. Also, historically, there are records that it is important for trade and commerce purposes, as well as we have been able to find many Venetian coins as well as European toys in the region, which means people belonging to local communities, they are looking to sell their local products to travelers, and these travelers coming from different parts of the globe may promote trade and commerce in the region where Kumbh is happening. So this is what happens at Kumbh, what is its religious significance we try to understand. We also try to look at various sources in India's literature and literature accounts of various foreign travelers which highlight the origin and importance of Kumbh. Understood? Now, let us try to solve a practice question that I have curated not on Kumbh Mela but on places in news relevant from Kumbh Mela. Now, this question asks you to pair the relevant places with the rivers which they are located on. For example, first is Prayagraj located in Ganga. I told you it is correct. Haridwar located in Yamuna. I told you it is incorrect because Haridwar is located on the banks of river Ganga, whereas Prayagraj is located at the Sangam, which is a meeting point of three rivers, Ganga, Yamuna as well as Saraswati. The third, Ujjain, is located on Godavari. I told you again, it is located on the banks of river Shipra, whereas Nashik is located on the banks of Godavari and not Shipra. Therefore, it is incorrect. Now, we have to identify how many of the above pairs are correct. Only first pair was correct. Therefore, option A, only one is the right answer. Understood? So, you saw such kind of questions are drafted on important places which have been in news and not necessarily based on the text of those articles. So, you have to keep an open mind while reading an article, that what are the places mentioned in the article, what are the terms mentioned in that article, what are the relevance of such events for India's society, for India's religious history, and what are the relevant historical figures mentioned in the article. Understood? Now, as I tell you on a daily basis, this video that you are currently watching on YouTube can also be accessed on our website using this particular link, and the benefits of accessing this video on our website are many. First of all, you will be able to download the notes then and there itself. You will get the continuous updates relating to the courses, in addition to having an option to download these videos for offline viewing, as I understand there are many instances, particularly when you're traveling, that you will not have a fast internet connection enabling you to watch any kind of videos. So, saving such videos can help you navigate those tricky situations and continue your learning uninterruptedly. Further, if you want to practice our MCQs, you can do so on our website, as the website contains interactive MCQs with solutions, therefore making the process much more interactive and easy for you. So these are the benefits for the course which you can access from here, and it is only available at a some meager total of 1 rupee. So no harm done. Now let us move to another article of the day. This one appeared in the op-ed section of the Indian Express, that is page 11, and this highlights planning, especially at the time when the global temperatures are increasing, that is a hotter world. So such kind of an articles are important from which exams perspective? From GS paper 3, as it deals with syllabus relating to environment. Understood? Now let us try to understand the context of the article. On the first day of this year, that is 2025, Indian Meteorological Department, which is responsible for taking into account India's temperature, it announced that 2024 was hottest year on record since the time the agency has started recording the temperatures, that is back in 1901. And you may hear that every year there is a news that the last year was the hottest. So this is not a very new news. But what is important, that India's complex climatic landscape, it is bearing an additional burden of rising global temperature, because you understand India is already a developing country and it has a large section of population who live below poverty line, and you have to provide these kind of people with food, with employment, etc., and for that you need to undertake economic development. But on the other hand, this economic development results into release of greenhouse gases, as these greenhouse gases, when trapped in Earth's atmosphere, can lead to increase in global temperatures. And because of these global temperatures, India is witnessing complications with respect to public health as well as economy, and therefore India must prioritize various adaptation strategies so as to make it more resilient from the impacts of climate change. Resilience means ability to withstand the climate change. Understood? Now, first of all, this article is written by an individual who is a subject matter expert. Therefore, his causes and impacts of climate change are very important as far as scholarly view is concerned. Now he, in his article, tells us many consequences that India is facing currently because of rise in global temperatures. First, he said that nearly 8 out of 10 Indians, they live in cities which are at risk of flood, drought or cyclones. And there are many hotspots in the country where these two events from these three can happen simultaneously, and these are located in parts of Odisha, Telangana, which are located on the eastern coast of our country, and also parts of Gujarat located in the western coast. And these are hotspots where 2 out of these 3 disasters may happen together. So you understand, a large section of people, nearly 80% of Indian people, are vulnerable from the impact of flood, drought and cyclone, and this highlights India's vulnerability to climate change. Now let us try to understand India's impact, particularly with respect to heat wave incidents. Now 2024 was a severe year because, as you can understand from today's article, it was hottest year on record, and as a result India also witnessed a significant amount of heat wave related incidents, and this occurred in as many as 23 states in India because these are heat wave prone. Now in summer of 2024, as many as 40,000 heat stroke cases were reported, and it led to death of more than 300 people, which is quite sad. Also, it affects such heat wave incidents, it affects people in terms of their health, and it reduces their economic productivity. So it is not just important as far as public health is concerned, but for also it is important as far as India's economic growth prospects is concerned, because we need healthy people who can work by giving their best, and heat wave it does not permit them to have a good health, and it also negatively impacts their economic productivity. Now, India's water reservoirs as well as energy demand also faced certain kind of a stresses, because whenever there is a heat wave incident, demand for water increases and the supply of water is affected because of increased evaporation. Also, in mega cities like Delhi, we witnessed increased in energy demand, as in June 2024, Delhi's peak power demand reached 8,647 megawatt, which was more than 16% than the previous year demand. So this is how heat wave related incidents impact any kind of country. It reduces their economic productivity, it impacts negatively the health of the people, and it also increases the stress on water reservoirs as well as the energy sector. Also, monsoons, they have becoming quite unpredictable because of climate change. As we have seen, the duration of monsoon, which usually occurs from the month of June and extends till September, there is no equal distribution of rainfall. But because of climate change, what we have seen that the rainfall events have become sporadic and unpredictable, and there are some parts in the rainfall season when we witness heavy rainfall, whereas the rest of the rainfall season witnesses a low amount of rainfall, and this is why they have become uneven or unpredictable, and thereby leading to significant consequences. For example, between 2012 to 2022, various districts were located in Indo-Gangetic Plain, which is also the food hub of India. It reported a decline of 20% of southwest monsoon rainfall. Also, because of heat wave related and monsoon related incidents, India's annual crop losses, it increased, and it led to an increase of about 0.25% of India's GDP, which is quite a significant number. As you can understand, there are a large section of people who cannot get or buy food, and losses of such huge losses of crops can be quite detrimental in meeting our food security needs are concerned. Also, India's water bodies, which are located quite close to Indian shores, particularly Arabian Sea, it has increased 52% increase in tropical cyclone incidences. As earlier, it was reported that Bay of Bengal was more prone to cyclone related incidents. But with increase in water temperatures of sea, we have seen even the Arabian Sea has become prone to cyclone related incidents. Also, we have to understand that uneven rainfall can also lead to instances of floods in India's urban and rural areas. Particularly, we have seen many Indian cities, they have seen the instances of urban flooding where even half an hour of rainfall is enough to waterlog many major parts of Indian country. And as India's flood warning system only extend to about 1/3 of flood prone area, that is why floods are an important economic consequence or a disaster related consequence of heat wave incidents and monsoon related incidents. Now, this article, in addition to highlighting the vulnerabilities and risks associated with changing climate, it also highlights certain measures that could be inculcated by the government in order to make India more resilient from changes in climate and global warming is concerned. Now, first of all, it states that there is a need to conduct a detailed risk assessment on the impacts of various changes in global climate. Why? Because first of all, it is necessary to understand the impact and prediction of how heat stress can impact people even at a minute scale and across various sectors, because you have to understand, first of all, heat wave, although it impacts everybody, however, the impact changes on the nature of vulnerability a person is facing. For example, a child, a senior citizen, or a person who is facing some kind of a health concern, they are more vulnerable population and they need to be protected first from the impact of heat wave, and there is a crucial need to prioritize targeted actions in this regard. Also, India's dairy and livestock sector is quite important for India's farmers and India's economy, as it constitutes about and it provides for about India's 5% of GDP. However, with increasing temperatures and heat related stress, there is a reportedly decline of 20% in India's milk productivity capacity. So, we need more low cost and decentralized energy based livelihood options such as solar chillers, which will help protect the productivity of India's dairy and livestock sector. Additionally, there is nearly half of India's land which is rain fed, that is about 55% of India's land is supported or by rain fed in nature, that is 55% of India's land are not covered by any kind of irrigation project, and that is why these areas they require rainwater in order to be irrigated. And because this India's 55% of area is rain fed, we need to revamp the crop weather calendars. Now what are crop weather calendars? These are calendars which provide the annual weekly temperature guidance to the farmers. It provides the sowing and reaping time using which the uh, farmers can get the maximum out of their crops. And we need to provide or revamp the solar weather calendar for rain-fed crops, which will take into account the recent changes in southwest monsoon, and it will also take into account the required contextualization of local cropping practices and how it will suit the region's water and moisture availability, because increasing heat and water related and rainfall related incidences, you can understand it will impact the availability of water and moisture, and the farmers they need to plan accordingly at what time they should sow their crop and what time they should reap their crops and what kind of crops they should sow based on the information provided by the government. Also, we have seen the brunt of climate changes, particularly increased rainfall and increased temperatures have negatively impacted our country's urban areas, particularly mega cities. Now, because of that, we need to construct necessary infrastructure and provide them with finances so as to make them more resilient to the impact of climate change. And this is where important financial instruments such as green bonds and climate bonds can be provided to these urban local bodies, and these urban local bodies can secure financing which will help them construct necessary infrastructure and gain adequate financing. So these are the suggestions made in the article, and these are quite important from our exams perspective. So please make sure to revise this topic again after the end of session. Now this is slightly confusing due to Sangam and Ganga association with Prayagraj. Now Prayagraj is located in the confluence of three rivers: Yamuna, Ganga and Saraswati. So if the question asks you whether it is located on the banks of Yamuna or Ganga, both of them are correct. Hope I made it clear, BS and FTY. Yes, now let us move to another article. This one belongs to economy section and it appeared on the 13th page, that is the business page of Indian Express. And this article reports that foreign portfolio investors, they have withdrawn more than 22,000 crores from Indian equity market this month. And these withdrawal decisions by FPI, they are driven by three factors, that is weak earning season of Indian corporates, steady rise in US dollar values, and also concerns over tariff war which may happen because Donald Trump is becoming US president on January the 20th. So these are the reasons why foreign portfolio investors have taken their money out of India. Now, from our exams perspective, we need to understand first of all what are these foreign portfolio investment, also known as foreign institutional investment. Now, these are investments made in Indian financial instruments up to 10% of total paid up capital of a particular country. Also, these are known as hot money because of their quite impulsive decisions in taking and providing investments, and these are primarily short-term investment flows in various financial instruments such as share, bonds, debentures, etc. You can see other financial instruments in which foreign institutional investors or the portfolio investors can invest. These include share, corporate bonds, commercial papers, mutual funds, InvITs, REITs, state development loans, etc. Now, first of all, there are limits on how much a foreign portfolio investor can invest. This has an individual FPI limit where a single Indian company, you can only invest up to 10% of the total paid up capital, whereas aggregating FPI investors in a particular company, here the total sum of FPI investors can include up to the sectoral cap. For example, if a sector permits 49% of foreign investment. Now, in this technically, one FPI owner can have only as much as 10%, but suppose you had 4 FPI owners. So technically you can have 40% of foreign investment through FII. Why? Because in a particular sector 49% is permitted. So this is how the sectoral cap determines the aggregate value of FPI limit. Now there was this new framework which was brought in the month of November. It allowed FPI to invest in companies beyond the 10% limit also. And what if it increases the limit from 10 to say 22% of investment? So in that case 10% will be categorized as FPI, whereas the rest 12% will be categorized as foreign direct investment. So this is how an investor can also invest more than 10%, but for that the rest amount will become FDI based on the permission given by the government. Now there are close related terms that I have mentioned in today's article, that is foreign direct investment and foreign portfolio investment. Now these are quite similar but very different also. The difference particularly is with respect to percentage of ownership, because as you can see in FDI, when the investment is 10% or more, it is called as FDI, whereas it has to be less than 10% to be called as foreign portfolio investment. Now FDI, it includes transfer of money and also transfer of technology and management skills, whereas with respect to FPI, only transfer of money happens. And the consequence of FDI investment is that the ownership of the company may change and also the management of company may change. But FPI, only the ownership changes. That is, the foreign portfolio investors, they become a part owner of the company they are investing in. Now, the money particularly for FDI is used for physical assets, whereas it only used in financial assets for FPI is concerned. And the nature of FDI investment is stable and long term, whereas FPI is concerned, it is unstable and short term, thereby it is also called as hot money. Thereby, in terms of flexibility, FIIs are more flexible, whereas FDI are less flexible. So understood the key difference. Now, based on this knowledge, let us try to solve another practice question with reference to foreign portfolio investments. Which one of the following is not considered its major characteristic? So you have to identify the incorrect option in these 4 options. Now it is an investment through capital instruments, essentially in a listed company, is a correct statement. It is largely liquid and offers the investors a chance for quicker returns on their money. It is correct. It is an investment which involves changes in ownership and management. It involves changes in ownership, but does it include changes in management? No, it is the FDI which includes changes in management and not FII. So second statement being incorrect is the right answer for our practice question. Now D is correct, as it is the investment made by foreign institutional investors in government securities, bonds, state developmental loans, etc. These are correct. So third was wrong and therefore right from our perspective of question, because it is asking you to identify which one of the following is not considered as the major characteristic of FII. Now moving to another article, and this article highlights that Russia, it has formed a task force in dealing with the oil spill that has happened on Kerch Strait. Now such important places in news are important from exam, as I already told you in our discussion with relation to Gulf of Mexico. So let us try to understand first of all the context of what happened. Now in last month, a Russian oil tanker which was carrying thousands and tons of crude oil and oil products, it split into 2 parts due to a heavy storm. And this split of an oil tanker, it resulted into an oil spill on Kerch Strait. Now a strait is a water body which is a narrow waterway located in between 2 pieces of land. And this strait is responsible for connecting 2 large water bodies, and from this map you can see Kerch Strait is located near the vicinity of Ukraine and Russia. And let us try to understand this with the help of a very clear map that I have provided. Now as you can see, Kerch Strait is located between Ukraine and Russia here, and it connects 2 water bodies, that is Black Sea in the south and Sea of Azov in the north. Sea of Azov in the north and Black Sea here in south. Now there is also a bridge which was constructed by Russia. This is a 12-mile long bridge which connects the region of Taman with region of Kerch, which is located in the Crimean Peninsula, and this peninsula was in news back in 2014 when Russia annexed this territory from Ukraine. Now, this 12-mile long bridge is the longest bridge located in the European part of the continent, and this Kerch Strait also enables it to the main ships and submarines to flow through it. So, this is what is important from our today's discussion. Now, let us try to solve this question. Please try to solve this question from our exams perspective and comment me the right answer today, and I will take up the discussion of this question in tomorrow's session. Okay. Now moving to our last article. This article appeared on the page 16th of our today's newspaper, that is the explained section, and it highlights that some changes have been made by the draft UGC rules, and this has created tensions with union government on one hand and the state governments on another. So let us try to understand what are the changes made in this article, the context of this article, that draft UGC minimum qualifications for appointment, promotion of teachers, academic staff, regulations were brought which gives chancellor a bigger role in appointing of vice chancellors of state university. So this is the context of today's article. Now let us try to understand what this body, that is UGC, does. First of all, it is a body which was set up by Department of Higher Education, and it is a statutory body. Statutory body, why? Because it was constituted as per an act passed by the Parliament of India, and the purpose of this agency is first of all to coordinate, determine and maintain the standards of university education in India. And to maintain these standards, this body provides Indian education institutions, particularly universities, recognition and also financial support. Understood? So this is what the primary job or function of UGC is all about, and in doing so it has brought a new draft UGC rules which provides for various different purposes. First is that it provides and determines how the vice chancellor of universities in India will be appointed from now on. And for the appointment process, a 3-member search cum selection committee will be appointed, and this committee will then appoint the VCs. Now the constitution of this committee will be done by chancellor, which in many cases are the governor of various states, and this committee composes of person which includes a chairperson who will be the nominee of the chancellor of a particular university, which I told you may be a governor, and the members of this committee includes a nominee of UGC's chairman and a representative of university's apex body. So you understand, governor and the chairman of UGC, these are appointed by central government. So theoretically, central government has 2 votes in appointing of new VCs, whereas the university's apex body, which is constituted by state government, will only have 1 vote. So this is where the dominance of central government may overarch over the state government. Also, this changes provides the appointment criteria that the candidates who can be appointed as a vice chancellor they must possess high academic qualifications and also demonstrate leadership capabilities. Now, first of all, it also provides more flexibility as far as appointments of faculties are concerned, as candidates who have qualified NET or SET exam, they can teach subjects even other than the subjects that they have pursued under their undergraduate and postgraduate courses, provided that they are undergoing or taking a PhD specialization in the subject. And it also eliminates the need for academic performance indicators in determining the qualifications of a particular vice chancellor, because earlier when these academic performance indicators were relied upon, the most focus was on quantitative metrics such as how many journals a particular candidate has published in India. But we know, particularly with respect to India, these journals may not be of good quality and hence they cannot be used as an adequate metric to demonstrate the ability and qualifications of a candidate. Also, this eases the process of appointing contract teachers to fill in vacancies, because earlier there was this 10% cap, as out of, for example, 100 teachers, only 10 teachers can be appointed on contracts. But this created several roadblocks particularly with respect to filling of vacancies. And removal of sectoral caps or contractual caps can help fulfill or fill the vacancies that may emerge quite soon. So these are the changes made in our today's rules that I have told you. Now, based on this information, let us try to analyze the implications of draft UGC rules of 2025 and how does this implicate India's federalism and institutional autonomy. Now, naturally, as our everyday discussion, I told you, you have to divide your answers in 3 segments: introduction, body and conclusion. Now, in intro, you will start with what UGC does, that is, maintains standards of higher education in India by providing universities recognition and finances. Now, in this process, this UGC brought a new regulation in 2025 which primarily deals with appointments of vice chancellors of the state university. So, this is how you will start your answer. Now, in body, you will demonstrate the changes made in the regulations, that it provides for a 3-member search cum selection committee, and this committee will comprise of 3 members, a nominee of chancellor, a nominee of UGC chairman and a nominee of university's apex body. Also, it provides the qualifications of VCs. It provides for qualifications of teachers who can be appointed, and it also removes the cap of 10% on contractual appointments. So, this is how you will demonstrate the changes which will constitute the body of the answer. Now, the conclusion of this answer is most important because this is only a 150 words question and ask you to analyze the changes from the perspective of federalism and institutional autonomy, and this is where you have to nail your conclusion. Now, the conclusion will involve arguments on 2 different sides. First, you will say that the dominance of central government in the appointments of vice chancellor highlights impact on federalism and the autonomy of state government to appoint VCs. But on the other hand, you have to say that such regulations are necessary in ensuring that the quality of education provided in these institutions and the transparency of the process should be taken care of. So, this is how your conclusion will involve both sides of the argument, that how it encroaches upon federalism of the states or the state's right to appoint any VC. However, this was necessary in order to maintain the levels of quality and transparency in India's higher education institutions are concerned. Understood? So, this is how you will conclude your answer. So, this was all for our today's discussion on the newspaper that appeared on 13th of January. And if you have any problem in your answer writing, or if you want to get your answers corrected from me, you can submit your answers on this Telegram group, the link of which is provided here. And you can also search this QR code to access the relevant group. So, this was from my side for today's discussion. I'll see you again tomorrow at 10 AM. Until then, keep reading, keep analyzing, and more importantly, keep revising.